What's up, guys? Welcome back to the next video learning Laravel. My name is QDS Dani and you guys are watching my channel Cryowood. Alright, so in this video we're going to talk about form validation. Alright, so before we continue with our Laravel form validation, you guys go ahead and fire up your Laravel PHP Artisan Serve. So once you fire up your Laravel, this is from our previous video that we have created our form. If you look in here, we still here is user create. So if I refresh here, I'm going to be here, but I'm using the Bootstrap CDN Contents Delivery Network from the Bootstrap. So if you look in here, my internet is on. So without the internet, you guys cannot access this CDN from the Bootstrap. If you look in here, we have a username and we have a password, we have a description, we have a submit. So to be successful Laravel developer, you guys need to learn the form validation. Say for example, if you are creating the username, you're developing a Laravel application website for client or from your boss or for yourself or for any other purpose you're creating, you guys need to put a validation. Say the user cannot leave this, for example, empty. Alright, so if you're going to come here before the session, you guys, if you guys remember, we're using the create and we're still using the user controller create. So if you look in here, the user controller create in our session, if you look in here in HTTP controllers user controller, we are having a method, and the first one is that going to be create, and that is the job of this method is to show us the create, which is this guy here. Once you guys submit the form, then it goes here to the request. If you look in here for the store, so the store have a parameter here called request. It's the request that the user sending towards the server and the server response. So if you look in here, this request and this request response. So what are we going to should have a mechanism for the when you guys create a website here, you guys should not let anyone to leave this for example parts empty. The user cannot leave this for example, if you have a login or register, the user cannot leave this username empty or password empty, or for example the description empty. Cannot use this one. You guys should have some sort of mechanism in place to validate the user's form. Okay, so how to validate the user's form? For example, now if you look in here, if you for example do print R, for example, so we do print R, and for example we do request, and we do request all, for example. Okay, so print R is exactly like we have shown you guys about the DD, and we've done the request, and we've done all, for example, in the previous video. That's gonna be another way. So if I comment this out and if I control S to save, I don't want to use the DD, but I want to use a print R to test. So if I come here and if I put a username, for example, I'm gonna put my username is Yazdani, and I want to put my password, it's gonna be 123, and the description I'm gonna be you are watching Laravel video at Cryowood, for example. Okay, so if we submit, you guys looking here that the difference between the DD and print R is that now we have a token. That's our token for CSRF, and now you're looking at username is Yazdani and password is 123, and whatever the description here, you are watching Laravel video at Cryowood. So you have our form has been submitted, and this message is going to come here. So whichever you guys want, you guys can put print R, you guys going to see the form of array, or you guys want to put a DD. So I'm gonna comment both. So I'm gonna come here and I'm gonna start validate. So for the validation, you guys needs to put this, and you guys gonna put a validate. Validate is Laravel's inbuilt method, inbuilt function to validate your whatever you in the form you guys doing. So we put a request, not a request, that request, but we have another request, and you guys can pass array, and you can for the time being we don't want to use this return. So what we gonna, for example, validate what's array here. The array here, you guys can pass all these whatever we had a username, you have a password, you have a, for example, email, description, first name, last name, blah 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 blah. You can go pass this one inside this array here. So that's what we have here. So the first one is we have a username. For example, if you look in our form, if we go here in our not the public resources, we're gonna go on the views, and we're gonna go on the, for example, create. And if you look in the create, that's our CDN from the bootstrap. So and if you look in here, the first one is username. So what you're gonna do with the username, for example, you can put a username, and what you're gonna go, you can username, and what's gonna be the username, what you guys gonna be, we're gonna put a require, and what's the require, and what else. And if, for example, we do maximum, we don't want the user to put for example, more than 10, for example, characters. You don't want anyone to come and use crazy long username. We don't want that. So we want to put the first of all is going to be required, and the secondly we want the user to put maximum 10. And what we're going to do in the, we do password, and we're going to go on the password is going to be required. Okay, sorry, this one's going to be required. D at the end, make sure you put it like that, not required but required. So because you guys want that, Laravel's you guys gonna issue command. So if you go ahead and save all, you're gonna, if you go ahead without doing these ones, it means our form is not gonna go ahead. It means Laravel is gonna require this one for us to put our username, and we can put our password. So if you look in here, we left this to empty because we are requiring here, but the Laravel did not go ahead, even though we press submit, but the Laravel did not go ahead to the store. Why it did not go ahead? Because we have put a constraint here now. We have tell the specifically Laravel, whatever the user send request, make sure you do validation. So we have a validation in place. So the Laravel gonna render this one first. The Laravel is gonna look it here in our users create, or alright, the user is gonna create, and the users create here. That's the job of the users create to show, and then when it shows, it sends to the store. So when the Laravel looks here, store means we are gonna post here. So once we post, it means it's gonna go on the post, and then here we put a constraint here. We put some sort of requirements. So for the Laravel to, first of all, that the username should be required, and because the user has to provide something, and it should not be more than 10 characters. And the secondly here, the password the user has to put a password, otherwise that it's not going to go ahead. But if you look in here, we did not see any error. Why we did not see any error here? The reason we did not see any error, because we didn't put any error. We didn't put any mechanism for the Laravel to show us error. There is a two-way you guys can put your error on top to show, or you guys can put your error underneath here. So if, for example, the username, you guys can put it inside in the forum group. Say, for example, now we have a forum group. We have a div here. You can put another div, for example, div danger, or you guys can put some sort of div here. So if you put a div, So we put another div. You guys can put inside this div. So we put a add, we put a error, and what's our error? Our error is going to be for example for username. Okay, so here we're going to put a username, and here we are going to put a, for example, end error. Okay, and in between you guys need to put a, for example, p, and you guys can put a, for example, message, and we put a message. Alright, so now we're gonna test for our username whether we get an error from our username. We're gonna come here. For example, we are going to put something here. So we're gonna leave the username empty, and we're gonna type something 123, for example, and we're gonna submit. And if you look in here, we already got the error where the username field is required. And if you want to do, for example, the password, we can do the password here, or if you want to do the description, we can do the description. So all you guys got to do here, come here, and we're going to copy the div. Say our divs runs from there to there, and we can come here, and for example, it says password under the div. We can paste our div here, and we can put a password. So we put a password, and here where it says p message, the message coming from the validation. So for example, now when you do validation, the Laravel is already set up everything for you to display your message. So Laravel comes and checks if the user didn't put a password, then the Laravel is going to display this message. So we have error password, and if you guys want to make it, say for example, we put a class btn, and we put a btn danger, for example, from bootstrap. If you want to use the bootstrap, you can do so by typing say for example class btn, make it look like a button, red button to display under their password, for example. Okay, so now we're going to go and refresh. And once it's refreshed, we're going to go here and make sure you guys hit the Control S to save. We're going to come here, and once this one gone, we could try to submit where there is a username and empty password to see our messages. So the first message is going to come as like this blank, and the second message we want to put some sort of color. So I leave it up to you guys, whichever you want. Alright, so now we hit the submit to try to submit the empty form. So now we have a username which is going to be plain, and we need a password. If you look in here, the first one, the username field required, is going to come plain, and this one's going to come in say bootstrap. So now you guys effectively letting the user know whichever you guys want. If you want to say for example colorful, you guys can do colorful, for example. If you guys want just a plain, you can do so, just a plain. So if you do this one, you guys gonna attract the user's attention, so the user is not gonna leave this empty. You can put a minimum maximum, for example. You can come here and put a, for example, you can say this is a password, and we can come username. You can put anything you guys like, say p. You can put a class, say btn primary, for example. You can put a btn primary or btn default, whatever you guys want. And for example, now if you want to change this one, for example the username, you can do minimum, for example minimum 3, or minimum 2. For example, we can do min 2, and we can do the maximum. So now we have 3 requirements. The first one, the users can have at least 2, and more than 10. So if the user put more than 10, we're going to give error. If the user put less than 2, we're going to give error, for example. So now if you're going to come and refresh, so if you put for example just a here, and password is going to be 123. What we're going to do, we are not look at here, the username must be at least 2 characters. So the username, the Laravel must be looking for at least 2 characters here, because we are putting 1. The reason this is going to come as a blue, because that's our bootstrap, that's coming from our bootstrap, because we put our bootstrap btn primary. So this is one way of you guys can put in your error. You can do so. For example, you can go all the way on top, and you can put your error, like you can put it on the top of the form. So how are we going to put it on the top of the form? So before everything else, you guys can put a if count. So if you're going to come here before the user's form, so we can put the error form under this one, all of the errors. So we can put it here. So if, for example, before the form, we can open another div here. So we put a div, and here inside this div we can put a if, for example, you put a if, and make sure you close your if. So if, for example, end if, you can put an end if count, and count. So there is a inbuilt function in Laravel count. We put an errors is greater than 0, for example. Then what happens? Then we can put a, for example, btn danger or something like that, or we can put a alert danger. Say, for example, now we put a div, and we're going to close our div. We can put it here. We can put a class. We put a alert, and we put alert danger. We can put alert danger, and inside here we can put an order list. We can put a ul, and just close your ul. And here inside the ul we can put a at for each, and make sure you close your at for each. For example, end for each, and for each. Once you've done end for each, and here you guys can put errors, and we can put all as error. You can put a $, and you can put a error, and then you can put a here, you just like a message, you can put your li list, and close your li tag here, and you can put a here, you can put an error. You put your delimiter here, and you can put an error. So once your error is done, now we're going to see all the errors once. We're going to alert the user, so we're going to refresh. So we're going to leave this, for example, 2 sides empty. We're going to type something here like that, and we're going to try to submit this one. Now we're going to get an error. See here it says the user name field is required, the password field is required, so we're getting error here as well. It's up to you if you guys like this way in Laravel, or if you guys like this way. You guys have the choice to put say, for example, the user field is required, or the password field is required, or you can do this way. Say, for example, now we can put a value for this one. If you guys haven't done the value, for example, now we put something, then a, and a disappeared. You can keep that, retain that old value if you can with the Laravel. I'm gonna come here, and for example, it says that's a label, and that's a username here, that's a class, that's a placeholder. We can put a value here. Make sure you put a comma, and we can put a value, and here on the value we put a old. So old, what we're going to do old, for example, now we're going to copy this username, so we want to retain the value of the, for example, the old username. And now if you save all, because now if you guys want to, for example, you don't want the user to forget what the user put it here. So now if you come and refresh, we can refresh, and for example we can put a Yazdani, for example, or we can put a Azad, and for example we don't put anything here because we want to see the error, and here we put some describe or description, whatever you guys want to put it here. So when we try to submit, this Azad is not going away. So now we're getting error for one, but this Azad is not going away. So that's how the user now remembers that there is not a problem here, but the problem is actually here, the password, and here. Alright, so now you're looking here. So now I tell you that this two-way when we display error is most common in Laravel. So every developer, every professional developer, they uses either of this error. So for example, it's up to you guys now want to use this way to let the user know, or this way. It's up to you. If you want to put a description, for example, you can do so. For the description, you can come here, and now if you look in here, we can put for our description the error to validate the description before the submit. And if you look in here, we have error for password. If you're looking for this div, we can get a div, and here for our form group set description, and where the text area and where this div ends, we can put our error here. So the error is going to be for example, for description. Okay, you can put BTN danger or alert danger. It's up to you. So for example, this one we're going to put alert. We can put alert or alert danger, and we can display the message for this guys here. For a description, you can put a alert for description. So now we're going to go on user, and here now we can put a validation for description as well. So we put a description. Keep in mind that you guys needs to put exactly like here, description. Otherwise, if there is a name problem, then you guys Laravel is not going to give you error. Make sure you put use the username, and you can put a required. For example, you can put a required. So now we have a validation for 3. We don't have a validation for 1. We have a validation for 3. So now if we go and refresh, now we're going to get an error for description as well. So now if you put a, for example, Yazdani or Azad, or for example, now you can put any other name. For example, Casey, you can put a Casey here and put a password 123. But if you leave this guys alone, if you describe, and now we're going to see that we're going to get an error for description field is required, and now we're getting error from both sides. It's up to you, whichever you guys want. For example, now if you put a, this has an old value, and if you put a 123, and we put a here XYZ ABC, some random strings here. But if you try to submit, because we provided everything, now it's going there, because we have return, then that's why we are not going to see. You're not going to see here. But if you refresh this one, so if you resend, so if you try again, so the field is required. If you try this one again, and we try to submit, now everything is done, and we're going to see here our form, our message. You can put it in bold, it's up to you, or we just put it here that our form has been submitted. So this is the validation in Laravel. I'm going to recap this video for you guys to understand. So what we've done first is the previous video we have before the sessions we have created a form, and the form we have in our web, our route, we have a users create, users store. The users create going to display the form, the user store is going to submit. We're going to submit here, we're putting a name here. So then we're going to, because obviously you need a controller and you need a method, create and store. We have used create and store here. So the first part is going to just return the view, and the second part is going to, we have seen how we're going to validate. So this guy is here. Alright, so this guy here, we have created a form, Laravel's collective form, which we got here inside the app. And here, if you guys remember, we have config app, and then we have included the collective form, which is Laravel's collective, the form HTML. We have added here, and looking here, HTML, and we have added here the form in HTML for all the form facade and HTML facade to work. So here now everything is done. We have done all our inputs, the form open, the route's going to be the users.store, and the class going to be the form. That's exactly like Bootstrap, but in a Laravel way. So here we have a form group, and here we have a username, you have a control label, that's our label. And what is the label? The label is this guy here. So the label is this guy is here. This is a label, and this, looking here, this username, password, description is a label. If you guys don't know about Bootstrap, you guys go ahead and watch my another playlist videos. I made it for like 50 plus videos. I think it's 30 plus videos about Bootstrap. So I started from the scratch, all from the beginning all the way to the advanced level in Bootstrap, and that's inside this my channel. You guys can see that's how to do the Bootstrap, because this is all Bootstrap, the form group. And if you go looking here, the label and the form group, we have a form label. And if I can do Control S to save, and if you do Control U, you guys going to see all the Bootstrap at the back. So here we have a form method, and we have input class, form control, and you guys see here a form group. They all Bootstrap, but anyone's looking at your code, they're going to think that you are applied to Bootstrap, but in fact we are using the Laravel's own form method here. If you look in here, and now our form looks very awesome. Our form has everything, whatever you guys can imagine. Our form can give the error, which is very must when you guys doing programming. Our forms have another underneath error, can give the error for the username. Our forms has a validation, which you guys can put your validation here. Our form can return, our form has a request, everything, whatever you guys can imagine in one application. So this is very professional. Now we have created a very professional form in Laravel that is very secure for the CSRF attack, or you can have all the validation, so the users can just come here and mess around with our website. So that's about user form validation in Laravel. That's how it's done, and that's how you guys looking here, we have that's how we give error to the user in two ways. The first one is that we give on from the top, you let the user know that there is a problem with your input, and the second way is you guys can do it this way, to put it under this fields here. So under here you guys can put it with the Bootstrap, BTN danger, or alert danger, or alert primary, or alert default danger default, whatever you guys want to put in Bootstrap, you can give it here. So that's it for this video, guys. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe my channel Croywood. If you guys have any question or comment, leave in comment box. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next video, and bye.